All right, team, welcome in. For those of you just showing up, this is the Squat Clinic. I'm going to do a quick little overview again of what we're going to go through. First, we're going to start by going around the room saying your name and saying what you want to get out of the clinic. Actually, let's just take out the favorite thing about ETF just for time purposes. So your name and what you want to get out of this clinic. Is it form, technique? Is it pain relief? Whatever it is, let me know. We're then going to go over a baseline video. You're going to hand your phone to somebody next to you. We're going to do 5 regular squats, 5 sumo squats, and 1 deep squat. See if we can do it before and after this entire thing and see the changes in your body. From there, we're going to go over the basics of a squat. There's so many things. Instead of just moving up and down, you have to think about from the ground up. Every single joint, every single muscle has an aspect of play in what we do in our squatting. So lots of stuff to go through there. Pain. I know a lot of people, including myself, that avoided squats and lunges because of pain. So we'll go over some of the reasons for pain and things that we can do to overcome it. After that, assessments, we're going to see where your deficiencies lie. Is it in your ankles, your knees, your hips? Is it in your low back or your strength? We're going to see what your deficiencies are, and then I will give you some tools. Let's say you're really good at the cell phone test, but you're not so good at the step down test. You can disregard the cell phone test priming exercises, and you can really focus on the step down priming exercises. Those exercises I'll show you to help get you to where you want to be with your deficiencies. Muscle activators, because it's not just about the strength of your muscles, it's also about how much we can send the signal into that muscle to be able to fire. So it's a lot about the activators as well. And then at the very end, we're going to give you a pre-training priming routine that you can do while you're waiting for me to start the session. If you have 4 or 5 minutes before the session starts and you come, those are the exercises that you're going to be doing to help your performance in the room and to help prevent injuries and increase performance. After that, we're going to do a post-clinic video, and then we'll get you out of here and on with your Sunday. Cool? Any questions for me before we get started? Okay, so I'm Coach Damien. I am here because I want to teach you guys everything that I've learned over the past 20 years. Every single time I do a squat session, I learn something new about my body and about the biomechanics of a squat. So I kind of want to give you guys that information as much as I can in an hour. Let's go to Katie first.
All right. Okay. I'm Katie, and I wanted to cover this class especially for the form on my squats because I've broken both my ankles, so I always feel that I can't do it correctly. Or Damien goes, "Yeah, keep your knees out." And I'm like, well, I could if I had that motion of just knowing how to do the form.
Yeah, nice form. Perfect.
Corinne, same. I want to learn the form.
Love it.
I'm Claire.
Coach Claire.
I especially want to focus on my ankle mobility.
Huge.
I'm Ken. I'm here to full body. I'm trying to get everything back in better condition.
Yeah, love it.
Diane, form and technique.
Perfect form and technique.
Diane, form and ankle.
Yes, I love it.
5-year-old body's got to do something better. So
That's it.
Keep going. I have a new hip and probably need the other one, but I can
Yes.
shave this one off. but
Okay.
get in better shape, so.
I love it. I love it. Thanks, Gary.
Jen and form and ankle.
Perfect. And pain relief, when you guys say that, do you have any special spots? Knees and back?
No flexibility in my hips. So
Love it. Well, I don't love it, but yeah, I get it.
knees and low back.
Okay, cool. Perfect. Prevent injuries.
Joyce, I'm here for pain relief in my knees.
Yeah. Yep.
I'd like to get deeper squat without every time.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. So improve performance and range of motion and pain relief. I love it.
Casey, form and technique, and then
Yeah, because we got some strong squatters in here, so I know that we can. I mean, you're strong now. It's nice that we can do it without pain, and we can get even stronger. I love it.
I'm Savannah. I want to learn about the muscle activator.
Yeah, love it.
Very needs to a lot of us as we get older.
Yep. Yep. Pain relief. Got it.
I'm Samara. I'm curious about all of it.
Yeah. Cool. I love it.
Peter, and I don't think I've ever learned how to do a proper squat.
Yeah. I mean, when did they teach us? So that's perfect. Okay, so the next move is we're gonna do 5 basic squats. Your feet are gonna be hip width apart, and you're gonna show yourself what 5 squats look like. Don't need to be perfect, just if someone were to say do 5 squats right now, that's what it would look like. You're then gonna take your feet wider, and your knees and your toes are out, and you're gonna do 5 sumo squats. From there, you're gonna show yourself feet hip width apart back into that normal stance, and you're gonna see how low you can go, and you're gonna hold it for 3 seconds. If it's here, it's okay. Just film and get all 3 of those things, and I'll give you about 4 minutes to get it done. So go ahead and stand up, find someone next to you, decide who's gonna go first. I can help someone out right now. Peter and Samara, there we go. Oh yeah, I should have told you guys to get your phone first. Sorry that.
Hey, Damien, what's the third one?
So we're gonna do 5 regulars, 5 sumos, and 1 deep squat hold for about 3 or 5 seconds. Yeah.
Is there an angle? We should
Yeah, when you do this, do a little pan around so you can see them from the front and from the side. Don't trip over the benches. 5 regular, and you can move around them so that you can see them from the front and from the side. That's why they're doing 5 squats. 5 sumos, your feet are wider. Make sure you can see their knees. Good. And then 1 deep squat hold for 3 to 5 seconds. Feet are the same as the first squat. One day you're going to be able to get as low as possible. How low can you go? Once you finish one person, go ahead and switch phones, And if you need to use the TRX, you can always use the TRX. Meet yourself where you're at, never go into pain. Regular squats, feet are just hip width apart. Sumo squats are the wide stance. Deep squat, how low can you hold? Nice. All right, give you another minute or so here.
now
As low as we can go?
As low as you can go, yep. One day it'll be calves to hamstrings. Last deep squat. Hold it for about 3 to 5 seconds. See if they can get you from the front and the side. Nice. There you go. Good. Love it. Awesome job, Katie. Okay. Good hold, Eugenia. There you go. Just 3 to 5 seconds is good, and then stop the video and hand them their phone back. You got to go. Okay, that's okay. We got time. Ooh, and then get them from the side, Jen, just so you can see what his side looks like. Stay down there, Fede. Nice. There you go. Okay, team, you guys ready? Go ahead, you can find a seat, and I'm going to go through some education here. If you'd like to stand, you can. If you'd like to sit on the bench, go ahead. So we're going to start from the ground up. That's where everything stems from. For me, I've sprained my ankles, both of them, hundreds of times. I've even dislocated the 2 bones in your ankle. Usually you dislocate from your leg to your foot. I've dislocated the 2 internal bones of my ankle, and it went into a golf club shape. I've snapped my patella tendon, and my quad got pulled up into my thigh, so they had to open me up from mid-shin to mid-thigh and sew it back with nylon rope to my patella tendon. I'm now stronger than I ever have been. I can now jump higher than I ever have been, but it was a process, and it stemmed from the ground up. When we're little, if you played sports, you stuff your shoes into sport shoes. If you've ever seen soccer shoes, it's insanity, the way that we stick it in there. If you've ever been in high heels, then you know exactly what we're talking about. Also basketball shoes, they have about 4 inches of cushion. You feel like you're bouncing on the moon. All of those things are taking away from what the foot is supposed to do. Your foot, it has hundreds of joints, ligaments, bones, and connectors inside of that little tiny thing there. It has all the nerve endings that your hands have. I don't know if you've ever seen the homunculus diagram where it shows you if you were to have sensations of what your body looks like, and the size of your body shows you what your sensations look like. You have huge hands, huge tongue, huge genital area, and really small torso because you don't have a lot of feelings in your torso. Your hands and your feet are gigantic. But when we stuff our feet into shoes, we are now, pretend that you put your hands in oven mitts and you went around life and you did stuff with your oven mitts. That's exactly what we've been doing with our feet for the last 30, 40, 50, 60 years, right? So it's going to be a process in rebuilding that strength. And you can't just, like if you started a fitness routine, you can't jump into a fitness routine and squat 400 pounds. You can't go into a barefoot shoe after walking in cushioned shoes for the last 30 years, right? So it's a slow start. So the basics of your foot stance. Your foot stance can dictate how you target muscles in your squat and the biomechanics of your hip joint. Your feet hip width apart is going to target mostly the front of your thighs, your quads. And anytime you do a squat, you're trying to aim the point of your kneecap at your pinky toe. So the knees usually tend to want to collapse because we have tight adductors and weak booties, glute mediuses, and this is going to slowly pull those knees in, which really puts that knee at a bad angle. Think of your kneecap as a train, and you have a train track with your patella tendon, and you have a train track with your quadriceps muscle, your thigh. So if I can get that knee into alignment, now that train runs along the track. One little tiny deviation off of that track just slowly starts to wear down that groove, and it starts to become painful sometimes. A lot of times the doctor will tell you have bone on bone. Some of that stuff stems from an inefficiency with your biomechanics. So what we want to do is we want to aim the knee for the pinky toe. When we want the quads, we want the feet a little closer together. If we start to take our feet wider, in yoga, they'll tell you sometimes to keep your toes forward. That's not what we're doing here. That's kind of old science. As you take your feet wider, your toes and your knees are going to angle out even more. So the knees line with the pinkies, they start to splay out a little bit more. The wider you take your stance, the more you start to target your inner thighs and your glutes and outside of your hips. If you want to target mainly your glutes, it's mostly about the depth that you go. So I could do my sumo squat here, and I'm mostly going to be targeting my inner thighs and the outside of my hips. But if I really want that main part of the booty, I have to get my hips below my knee height. So my hips need to go below my knee height to get that glute to stretch. For a step up, same exact thing. If I have my knee at 90 degree, I'm mostly using the front of my thigh, a little bit of the outside of my hips to stand up. But if I can get that hip down below, now I have that glute on a deeper stretch, and I can stand through that muscle. And that means that the bottom part of this rep is going to be glutes. The top part is going to be quads. So if I'm looking to target a muscle, I can bring my feet into a stance that hits that. That's kind of just the basic information of the foot stance. We then want to look at the alignment with the knee, knee to pinky toe, and then we're going to go tripod. So if you look at the tripod here, it's nice and wide, right? You have a base support. Nothing's going to tip that tripod over. With your foot, as you start to crush it into those feet, that tripod becomes skinnier, and now it has less base of support, right? So now my balance is quite off. What you want to try to do is you want to try to have about 60% of the weight in your heel. You then want to take the joint of your big toe and your pinky toe and create that tripod sensation. For me, my pinky is trying to hide. My feet are actually my biggest insecurity, guys. So the fact that I'm doing this is huge. My pinky is trying to hide because it's been in shoes so much. So now I lose all of that stability of the outside of my foot. So I highly recommend, if you guys haven't heard of them, they have these things called yoga toes. Anyone heard of yoga toes? Yeah, so you put your yoga toes on and it spaces your feet out and it puts your feet like this, how they're supposed to be. So I always, I'm walking around my house and I'm wearing yoga toes and I'm watching Netflix, and so it's really weird. So, but it has changed the game with my knee pain and my hip pain, just strengthening my feet and making sure the toes spread. We're trying to create a tripod. So if everyone would go ahead and stand up, and we're going to try to take this tripod together. You want to be off your mat, feet hip width apart. See if you can lift your toes off the ground. From here, you're going to try to spread your pinky over to the side and connect the outside of your foot to the floor, and then push the big toe joint into the floor. From here, see if you can take your feet and shorten your foot and take, without crunching your toes and gripping your toes, you want to pull your foot into an arch. And you do that by taking the joints of your feet closer to your heel. Now, if you're spazzing out right now and you're like, I have zero connection to my foot, 100% normal. That was me about 4 years ago. See if you can lift the toes, spread, get the pinky down, get the big toe down, and then create a short foot with the muscles underneath your feet. Does anybody, who feels that? Who feels that? You can do that, yeah. Who doesn't feel that and can't do that? Yeah, I know, I'm the same. I was there 4 years ago. I was like, I don't even know if they're moving or not. So that is going to be something that you can do to strengthen the arch of your foot. If you can't feel that, maybe come down into your kneeling position and see if you can spread them out with your hands, and see if you can then push your fingers into those tripod areas. And now see if you can, without squeezing the floor with your toes, you're pulling the joints of your toes closer to your heel. And once you find that, can you hold that and then stand up and try to see if you can get into that position? It's almost like you're rooting into the ground with your feet. There's no way you could do this with shoes on, right? Now, go ahead and take your knees and just slightly push them out to where you feel the outside of your hips fire up. Line them up with your pinky toes and just do a squat and hold this whole thing. Just do a squat at whatever range of motion you want to. At the bottom of your squat, push your knees out and stand slow. You should feel the outside of your hips fire. Yeah, do another one and see if you can go ahead and push into the floor at the same time, like you're pushing the floor away from you and you're activating the outside of your hips. Do another one. Good. Anybody feel nothing different? Okay, anybody feel something that was like insanely mind-shattering change? Okay, good. We're not there yet. Okay, awesome. So go ahead. We have the tripod, we have the short foot, and I'll send you guys the videos on how to get to the short foot. The next thing we're going to do is talk about spreading the floor. This is one of the best cues that you could possibly give someone to feel the outside of their hips, helping and to help with any kind of knee pain and traction of the right knee alignment. So we're going to lift your toes. We're going to put your pinky toe down, grip the floor with your big toe, weight in your heels, short foot. And from here, if I had a piece of paper on the ground, I would be trying to rip that piece of paper apart. My toes would be trying to go out. My heels would be screwing into the floor. And that's going to be the feeling I want you to feel at the bottom of your squat before you stand. So I'm going to lower. I'm going to rip the floor apart, screw the heels into the ground, and spread the floor apart as I stand. You should feel the outside of your booty helping to get you up. Do a couple of those. Lower, pause, spread, stand, keep the spread, keep the tension, keep the rooting into the floor. Inhale, lower, pause, put all the checkpoints together, spread, screw, slow, stand, squeeze. Cool. Okay, take a break, shake it out, shake it out. Now, we're gonna talk about ankle mobility. I think I watched your deep squat. You mind if I use you as an example? Yeah, okay. So, Katie's gonna do a deep squat facing you. For me, this is my biggest deficiency is my ankle mobility. A lot of times when we go into our deep squat, the ankles, they're not allowed to go at a full flexion here. So if these can't flex, my knees have to stay back, and now my hips have to go back, right? But if my knees are able to come farther forward, now I can sit a little bit deeper into that squat. So we were taught, I bet you were taught, knees never should go past your toes. I got a certification like 20 years ago that said, never let your knees go past your toes, never. And the reason was because they didn't want to hurt anybody. So nobody can do it. So they said, don't do it. But the ankles are meant to be able to dorsiflex. The knees are meant to be able to travel in front of the toes if you have strong enough patella tendons and if you have strong enough quadricep muscles to support it. There is a little more force out that joint because if I stand like this, all of my body weight is going out the front of the patella. So we are going to try to build the strength to be able to let the knees go in front of the toes. It's a slow process. So Katie, if you would show us a deep squat, as deep as you could go.
This is why I came to class.
Just to be isolated and pointed out. We're gonna change your life though.
Like, do you want me to go this way?
Face this way is good. Yeah. So go ahead and just do a deep squat with me. How deep can you go? Heavy heels, root for the ground. Good. So this is the deepest she can go right here. Stand up. Now go ahead and stand up here. Now put your feet on this, and we're gonna take the ankle mobility out of the equation. And there you go. Now do the same thing and see how deep you can squat. Magic. super magic. The only thing we did was we took away the ankle's ability to not dorsiflex. So go ahead and stand, Katie. Thank you for your.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
I can't walk around like this with my class with one of these.
No.
But I always felt that the reason why I couldn't do this on normal floor is because of my Achilles.
Yeah. Yep.
Is that true?
100%. I mean, it could definitely
More
be.
so than the ankle?
So the Achilles is the biggest factor in your ankle mobility. So this huge ligament here is your Achilles tendon, right?
Yeah.
It attaches to the bottom of your heel down here. If this is super tight, how is it going to be able to stretch when we go into that position? There's also there's like a bunch of bones in here, and if you sprain your ankle, what happens is the body sends inflammatory signals to that site. These different kind of cytokines and all this stuff go into that area to clear out all of the waste. Once that happens, all the good stuff rushes to that area. And if there isn't a lot of flow that gets that out of that area, it needs to get back through the system to be able to clear. If it doesn't, it starts to create what's called like scar tissue and buildup and just lots of stuff in there, fascia that starts to bind together. That right there, all of those factors, along with the strength of your Achilles, the flexibility of your Achilles, and the strength of this muscle here on the front of your shin, all of that stuff could be why this joint doesn't move the full ranges of motion. So the way that we can do that, we have some things that I'm going to show you to be able to get there. But as we're working towards that, let's squeeze over here. When you're in class, if you ever need to, we have these 10s, we have these 5s. You can do the same exact thing here by placing them on the ground and placing your heels up on those dumbbells. So this is one way that you can do it to be able to get yourself into that deep squat position. I have all the weight evenly distributed. The one downside of using dumbbells instead of this is like the floor just angled, so I have full surface area to be able to step from. This I have a space, so that's the only thing that you really are missing. But that'll help you get a little bit lower. Feel free, if we're not using new bells on the other side, to come grab them over here and do that. You're more than welcome to do that. So that's ankle mobility. Heel elevation takes the ankle mobility out of the entire squat equation. So now there's actually Olympic lifters that wear what's called squat shoes. They're not legal in some competitions and they're legal in other competitions. It adds like 50 to 100 pounds on some people's squats, which is crazy. So definitely a very good hack, but it's just a Band-Aid until we get ourselves into that mobility, full range of motion with the ankle. Any questions on that one? That one's a huge one. Everyone yesterday was like, oh, that's a huge change. So breathing. The last thing I want to touch on before we go into the reasons for pain is breathing. Normally in here we do like 8 to 20 reps. You can breathe normally. It's an inhale as you lower and an exhale as you stand. When you inhale, you fill your body full of air. So now you have this cylinder that is now from the inside nice and compact. Inhale as you lower. All that air is in your body and you're now compact. The tighter your core, the more that your legs can push from. Think about if you had a stick pushing into a piece of wood. That's a tight core. Our bones are sticking into that. You can push something with some power. Think about if you had a stick pushing into Jell-O. Nothing's going to happen, right? So if this is all loosey-goosey, these are going to be, they're having nothing to push from. I don't know what this move was, but I just did that. But does that kind of make sense? Does that analogy work? I've never used that before, but if you push into something that is sturdy, now you have more strength from your limbs to be able to push that weight up. If you're not tight in the core, everything else is not tight as you come up. So that's how you breathe. Inhale as you lower, brace, and then exhale as you stand. Now, once you get up to a super heavy weight, 300, 400 pounds, because everyone here is going to get to that weight, you want to then use what's called the Valsalvic maneuver, which is a very, very advanced breathing technique, and there is an opportunity to get lightheaded or pass out. So we're not going to do that in here ever. It's an inhale, it's a pause and a squeeze to create more tension, and the first half of your up rep, no breath. You're staying tight. You're staying with the held breath. And then it's a... So it's now you're tight at the bottom, and the first part of that rep is now keeping your breath in your body. So just so you guys know, inhale down, exhale up, almost for every single exercise we do. You guys can have a seat just in case you want to, or you can stay standing. I don't mind. Yeah.
I just want to really get this down. When you do
The heels elevated.
I know you're creating a memory for the understanding of how to drop down, but is that kind of cheating?
Yeah.
Ultimately,
It's a
and then
Band-Aid.
you build from that.
Yeah, it's a
Because of the
Band-Aid.
memory.
But what happens is if I can't squat all the way and I start to do this, what I'm doing is I'm strengthening the muscle fibers in these 6 inches of range of motion, right? If I never can get myself into these ranges of motion, I'm never letting those muscle fibers fire and strengthen. So it is a Band-Aid, but it's definitely you should do it. It's something that is going to help you guys out to get the full range of motion. Now I have slightly stronger leg muscles down below that support that knee. And as soon as I get my ankle mobility fixed, now I'm a well-oiled machine. I'm strong. I can get it up there. So yeah. Yeah, go ahead, Betty. So depends. What is your goal? The goal is to be able to move into the fullest range of motion that causes no pain and hit your goal. Someone like LeBron James, he is the world's best basketball player. He never squats any lower than here. He's always at the top half of the squat. So really, loading up LeBron James and trying to get him into the fullest ranges of motion is not going to help him get to his goal of being the best basketball player in the world. He only needs to train that top half and more explosive. For us, most of us in here are looking for just being strong people, wanting to live a good quality of life. In that sense, full range of motion is the best answer. Yeah.
If you go all the way down, it's fun. It's not.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
Every movement that you could ever possibly do that is without pain and doesn't cause any injuries is a good movement. Some people say there's this exercise called the Jefferson curl where you tuck your chin and you do exactly what we tell you not to do when you do deadlifts, and you try to flex your spine as much as possible and then you pull it up. There are some people that are strongman lifters that can do that with hundreds of pounds. And if we did that, our spine would explode. So if you can do an exercise in that fullest range of motion, if that's your goal, you're now strengthening that body to be able to do that motion. Now, when I go to pick up my child and I don't do it correctly, or I pick up a super heavy box and I don't do it correctly, I've strengthened that already. And now I'm more resilient for injury. It just depends on your goal. You're going to activate more muscles the fuller range you go. Yeah. Question? Yeah.
So if you're going from being told your whole life not to put your knees over your toes, to learning you can, like, is there risk of, injury, and what should you be careful of?
Yeah. Really good question. Yes, there's big risk. So, and it just depends on, it's as if someone was starting their fat loss journey and I told them, right now you're eating 3,000 calories a day and you're just doing 2,000 steps a day. I want you to drop your calories to 900 calories and I want you to increase it to 20,000 steps. Like, that's going to kill that person. But if that person slowly increases their steps 1,000 every week and decreases their calories 100 every week, now we're getting somewhere where the stress on the body isn't enough to break that person. It's the same thing with this. If after you leave here, you go into these mobility exercises and you go so hardcore, you do it 5 hours a day, and it's like, it's too much. It's with everything. Start slow, find consistency with it, and you'll be fine. Long-term consistency over short-term intensity every time. Cool. Any more questions on breath, ankles? Sweet. So let's talk about pain. This is huge. I've spent the last 3 years studying pain, listening to the top experts in pain, and it's incredible how sucky this science is and how little we know about pain, how smart we have people. So there's a few different reasons, and I'm not saying that this is all encompassing, but this is the main reasons that I see coaching thousands of people. Structural. Structural is probably the least common, and most people think it's the most common. So when you say I have pain in my knees, I have bad knees, I'm now telling my body that I have a structural issue because my knees are a bad part of my body, when in fact it could be one of the others. Structural happens usually when it's an acute injury, something that happens just then and there. You tweak something, you hear a crack, you hear a pop, you sprain an ankle. That's usually structural. Other structural things could be wear and tear. Over the years, if you start to grind down on the meniscus, yes, you see the MRI and you have no meniscus. I'm not telling you that it's not structural. It's probably structural. The structural can be repaired and worked on by using active recovery and nutrition. Your bones, your joints, your ligaments, they're all made out of the stuff that you put in your body, right? So if you have bad joints, it doesn't mean that you have to have bad joints forever. You can start to prioritize the foods and the supplements that get you better joints, which is what I've been doing. And it's been a game changer. I will send you an email that has all the supplements that I use, all the foods that I use to be able to help get those joints rebuilt. But don't just tell yourself that you have bad knees or bad ankles or bad back for the rest of your life, unless you just want to have it for the rest of your life. That's totally fine. But structural is probably the least common. Mobility is one of the biggest areas, why you feel pain when doing an exercise, along with strength. And they probably go hand in hand on this. Mobility is just like we said with the Achilles. When your Achilles is tight and you try to go into a range of motion, it doesn't have the range of motion to go. The joint below and the joint above usually takes the brunt of the effort. It has to compensate. So the ankle and the hips are where our deficiencies are mostly lying as a society because we sit so much, because we're in that 90-90 position. So what's right in the middle of those two joints? Yeah, and what's what everyone pretty much said when they have pain? Where do they feel it? Their knee. It's the tracking of the knee. It's the strength of the muscles that support the knee. So mobility and strength. The way you help mobility is with priming. We get that muscle, we get that tissue to go into that lengthened position. Once we have earned the right to get into that position, then we strengthen it. And once we strengthen it, we use activating and training methods to be able to do that. Think of your brain as an amplifier and your muscles are speakers. Now, you could have the best speakers in the world and a shitty amplifier, and you're going to get bad sound. Vice versa, right? You could have great amplifier and no speakers, and it's not going to work. So we're trying to connect the amplifier and the speakers, and we can do that with your central nervous system firing with some of those muscle activating exercises. Your body only wants to use the minimum. It wants to be so efficient. It wants to use the minimum amount of muscles to do the movement that you ask it to. So when I just think about squatting down and up, my body just used the easiest and the least amount of muscle fibers to be able to make that happen. I can change that. I can mentally, psychologically be able to go into a position and fire and squeeze and make that brain send the muscle motor neurons the most possible. And that's what the muscle activators over here, and we're going to teach you that. That kind of stuff helps with your strength big time. You'll see these big bodybuilders that have huge muscles but not very strong. And that's because they've worked with their nutrition and they've worked to fill that muscle full of fluid, but they don't have the CNS, the central nervous system, the amplifier strength to be able to lift stuff. So it's just because you have big muscles doesn't mean you're strong. I'm talking about this guy right here. And then psychological is a huge, huge reason. Psychological. Pain is in the brain. Whether you do have a structural issue or not, pain comes from the brain, sends it through your central nervous system, your spine, and goes into a protection signal wherever that is. So I don't care if it actually is a structural issue. Pain stems from the brain. Sometimes that psychological stuff stays for years and years and years. And it's what we believe. There's a placebo effect. There's a nocebo effect. Those are real things. And this is one of the reasons why we've told ourselves for years that stuff hurts. So we have to reassociate the pain that we feel safely to be able to get out of that mindset. And I have a lot of podcasts that I've saved up over the past years. If you're interested in stuff like that, let me know. And I can send you a bunch of links. Okay, so that's enough on pain. Let's go through the actual practical stuff. I know we've spent a ton of time here. Assessments. We're going to take your cell phone, and we're going to find a wall, and we're going to test your ankle mobility. Cool? So go ahead and grab your phone, find a little bit of space on the wall. Anywhere in the room works. I don't have my phone. We're going to take the phone in a widthways and put it up against the wall. You mind if I use yours as an example, Peter? So taking his phone, we're going to place it lengthways along the wall. And now I'm going to take Peter's foot and put his toe right against that phone. Now, the knee is going to track in line with the pinky toe. We don't want it to cave in, and I want to see if you can touch your knee to the wall right where your pinky is. Don't let that heel come up. Yep. Okay, we'll come back, and you're right about, go ahead. Stop right there. So you're right about there. So you're about an inch away from the wall with the width. Everybody go ahead and try that out. Find a wall, and make sure you do both feet. Both feet, left and right. This is going to test your ankle's ability to flex, or it's called dorsiflex. Now, your knee's going to try to collapse in, so be honest with yourself, and your heel is going to try to come off the floor. Be honest with yourself. As soon as you feel your heel lighten up, you want to make sure that you go back to where it's not. Yeah, that's great. So you got, that's perfect. Now, try the other leg and see if it works on the other leg. Can anybody touch with the width? Anybody want me to check and see if they're true or not? Yeah. So I'm going to hold your heel here, Jan. And now bring your knee over to the pinky and then go ahead. Yep, you're good. You can touch. Now, yeah. So heel down. Come over a little bit to the right. And you're good. Yeah, so you're good there. So you have, and you're doing it with the length of Eugenia. So, and you're, yes, Diane, nice. Now everybody take their, oh, okay, what we got? So, nope, some people can do it really easy. Your knee comes out and push. Go ahead, a little bit slower and a little bit more controlled. Go ahead, push. Yep, you're good. Now take your phone and put it lengthwise. Lengthwise. Yes. Everybody should be able to one day. Anybody need help? Gotcha.
We think we're great because are we doing it wrong?
No. Some people can get this one really good. Let's see. Yep. No, you're totally good. You're good.
Now do
And
it
then
this
up to the
way?
pinky and go right there. Yeah, you're good. Now do it that way. Yeah. So can I need to touch, yes, Jaden. That's a long ways, right? So other people should be able to get their toe there, aim the knee for the pinky, and reach. If you're unable to get your knee to the wall with it lengthways, it means we still have some work to do. If you can, it means your mobility is pretty good. So all that assessment says is when I tell you the ankle priming exercises, you want to make sure you notate those, and those are going to be the ones that you work on. Anybody want me to look? Yeah.
Yeah, well, we just noticed like the differences between the ankles.
Yeah.
Has been interesting.
The,
And for
what do you
this
mean?
Tighter in here. For my
You
right
feel-
side,
yeah.
I can't get to the wall.
Yep.
And then my left side, I totally
Easily. Yep. And that's exactly, yeah. So Coach Claire just said that one leg is super easy and the other one she can't touch. Both sides of the body are different sides of the body. It just, if you ever take a mobility flow, it could be, I mean, you drive with one foot. Do you drive with one arm like a gangsta? When you stand, do you stand and do you lean into one hip? Do you, when you brush your teeth, you always brush it with the one side. So we all do single-sided stuff throughout the day. So yes, one side could be lacking and the other side could be fine. That's an imbalance that maybe isn't a problem, but also could turn into a problem. So just notate it. And then as you do your mobility stuff, if one side is like, okay, I know I need to work on this. Maybe I do an extra set on this side. Maybe I do an extra few seconds on this side. Just something that you want to be aware of. Cool? So that was the cell phone assessment. When we go into the cell phone priming exercises, we're going to look at the combat stretch and the deep squat rockers. Those two right there are going to be money for your ankle mobility. Now we're going to do the step down assessment, and this one could cause some pain in the knees because it's going to be a little bit taxing, and we did this in class this morning. The step down assessment is meant for some of the best powerlifters in the world do this before they squat to see if what they're feeling that day. The goal is to let the knee travel as far in front of the toes as they need to, and we're going to see what our ankle mobility is doing, what our knee is doing, and what our hip stability is doing. If we feel any tightness in any of those areas, it's going to be something to notate. That's going to be something that we want to work on. So our goal here is to find our balance. Don't have to do it on high bench, of course. We're going to slide our toes to our shins, and we're going to come down. Knee comes forward as slowly as possible. I'm going to tap the heel to the ground. My knee is in front of my toe. I have the tripod, weight in the heel. I have the hip. Feels a little tight on this left side. The knee feels good. I feel a little bit of stress in my left ankle here. And then I come up. And I do that a few times, 5 to 10 seconds down. The goal isn't to see if I can do it. The goal is just to check in where I feel it and what I feel. Cool? If I need, I can take the bench 6 inches lower. I can use a TRX. So now I'm here, and I got tap. So go ahead and find a bench, find a TRX if you need. Go ahead and give that a couple shots. Make sure you do both legs. If you feel any pain, stop, no go. Just notate where you feel pain. Checkpoints. You want to make sure you have your tripod. You want to make sure you have, nice job, Jen. You want to make sure when your foot goes on the bench that your toes are splayed and forward, not angled in. So set up your foot before you do anything. Your foot is in your tripod, your short foot. It's straight forward, just like Corinne here. You're then going to take your other leg and slide it off to the side. Toes flex to your shins and slide that heel down. While you go down 5 to 10 seconds, super slow, notice what you feel. Do you feel pain? Do you feel tightness in the ankle, knee, or hip? Is your knee trying to collapse inward? Then, once you've notated one leg, go ahead and try the other side. And we have other benches out here too if you want. You want this one, Teddy?
Oh, that's okay.
Get that.
That's okay, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Nice. Nice job. So from the top, yeah. Even if you can't touch, you can still see and feel what the parts of your body need the most love. Good. Really focus in on what your knee's doing because almost 80% of the population's knees tries to cave inward. Nice, Diane. You want that knee to come forward in front of those toes. Yeah, good concentration. Nice. Okay. Everybody did both feet? Sweet. Now, notate where you felt it. Did you feel it in your ankles? If you felt it in your ankles, we'll do some ankle stuff. If you felt it in your knee, it is a joint and a patella strength issue. It's a quad issue, a strength issue. So those are easy to work on. Takes a long time, but it's easy to work on. It's just strengthening exercises in full ranges of motion. The hip, if you think about it, you have your huge, biggest bone in the body, your femur, in the hip socket. If that doesn't move correctly throughout that joint, if the muscles on the outside of the hip are loose, inside of the thighs are tight, it's going to slowly take that femur out of where it needs to be, and that's when that knee collapses in. And did anybody feel the knee collapse in when they were going down? I do, yeah. Yeah, that's me too. So that's going to be a hip issue. And our hip stuff is going to be right here in the middle. And then we also have low back stuff at the end. So those are going to be great. Now, I'm going to skip the PVC squat pipe test. That's where you put 3 points of contact on your back. You know that one. And we'll skip that one for today. And then the super slow-mo, we won't do that. But that one's just to see where your deficiencies lie in slow motion. So I go 10 to 20 seconds down. And I just feel, does one hip shift to the right? Do I come up onto my knees? Does my chest fall forward, round forward? Those are something you can't hide when you're doing a 30 to 40 second rep. And that's, we won't do that now, but that's going to be another test that you can do. So let's go into our priming exercises. These are the practical things that we can take away. We're going to be down on the ground. If any of these cause pain, just like any of the mobility clinics, don't do it. Either flag me down and I'll get you another one or something like that. So let's start it off with the combat stretch, the king of all ankle exercises. I will show you with an alpha bag, but you can do it with your body weight. We're going to go down into a kneeling position. You might need your mat. And we're going to take our body into this 90 position. One leg is going this way. One leg is going this way. If you have any kind of ankle or knee stuff, just meet yourself where you're at. You can maybe sit up a little taller if you have to. So trying to get down, you're going to take your hand and you're going to lock your calcaneus, your heel bone down. Once it's there, you want to take your knee and you want to, you have your 2 leg bones. You want to rotate those leg bones until they line up with your knee to pinky. From there, push your knee in front of your pinky. And what we're going to do is we're going to go into the furthest range of motion where your heel doesn't come off the ground. Stop right there. Now, try to activate by pushing your toes into the ground like you're gripping the floor with your toes. For 5, squeeze harder and harder and harder. Feel the back of your leg firing. And now lift your toes as high as they can go. Most people won't move. Lift your toes high. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze for 5, 3, 2, come out of it. So what you just did was you pushed that Achilles. You pushed all those back ankle ligaments into their most stretched position. The muscles now need a motor neuron from the brain to fire. When you ask the toes to squeeze, you're activating all the backside muscles of your leg. And then when you lift your toes, you're activating all the front side muscles of your foot and your ankle, leg. So what that does is that's going to now show the body and teach the body how to activate those muscles in the lengthened range of motion. It might not feel like you're getting much now, but this is huge. You can also add a nice little weight to your knee once you get there, or you can hold it in between your body and shift into that. So a weighted option, once you really get this down, is amazing because you can just kind of set it here and you can really fire and intensify and squeeze. So that's the combat stretch. You're going to notice that these 2 bones of the foot try to come inward and the foot arch tries to collapse. So get your tripod, get your short foot, get all the checkpoints, and make sure that that heel doesn't come off the ground. And you can do this while you're watching TV. You can do this instead of sitting on the, yeah, anybody feel that? Yeah. So maybe let's do the other leg just because, get it evened out. So put your checkpoints all down. You're trying to create the arch of your foot by pulling those joints close together. Then lock your heel down to the ground and push your knee out towards your pinky. Feel the length and stretch and then start to intensify. Squeeze the floor with your toes. Squeeze, squeeze. And then try to lift the toes as high as you can. Activate all those muscles on the front of your shin, the front of your foot. And you can do that until you feel even. Sweet. So as you guys work on those, that's the number 1 ankle mobility exercise. It focuses all on ankle. If you want to get a 2-for-1, you can always take your body into a deeper adductor stretch as well. So now I'm getting 2 for 1. The farther my knee is away from my body, the more I get that inner thigh. The closer, the more I isolate on that ankle. So moving on from the combat to the deep squat rock arounds. Not everybody's going to be able to do this one. We're going to go into a deep squat, and we're going to take our elbows into our inner thighs, and we're just going to rock around. We're going to go side to side, and then watch this one, forward and forward. If you need an option, grab your TRX, use that TRX to get down low, and use your upper body, and we rock around. If that's not an option, go up to a wall, and what we're going to do, slide your butt into the wall and go into a deep squat position unloaded. Now I can open up my hips, and I can rock my knees forward and back and try to get all through ranges of motion there. Go ahead and work on that for a quick second. What you're trying to do is you're trying to spread the floor apart. You're trying to squeeze the ground with your feet. Remember, everything stems from the foot. And then I'm trying to open up the hips. So I'm rocking to the side. If you guys are unable to get into this deep squat, I highly recommend finding a table, a stool, something that you can hold on to, and spend 30 seconds here at a time, 1 million times a day. Well, not 1 million, maybe like 5 times a day. But I literally have worked my way up to be able, I used to watch the sunset for an hour in a deep squat. And so I still kind of do that, but like that's where I finished. I used to not even be able to stay in a deep squat without pain for more than 20 or 30 seconds. So you kind of do, you actually do. So it's, but that's a positive stress in the body. Exercise is hormesis. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. You create a tiny little stress and your body rebounds from it more resiliently. Life is all about little hormesis stressors. If you do something too much, too fast, it's going to be a stressor that you can't rebound from. But if you start to, has anyone done breathe degrees? Has anyone done like Wim Hof breathing or breath holds? What it is you're hyper oxygenating your body, and then you're trying to blow out all the CO2, and you're trying to not get oxygen to the brain pretty much. But that right there causes a stress that now your body rebounds from bigger, and now you have an oxygen surplus that you're stronger with. So it's little stressors throughout the day. Exercise. What else? What other stressors in our lives? Job, people. So if you can rebound from stressful people at work, then that makes you stronger and more resilient. Okay, so moving on. The deep squat rock arounds. Then we're going to progress into booty lift drops and hamstring flossers. So this one, if you're still on the deep squat walk arounds, that's where you start. If you can't go any further than that, stay there. From here, we're going to grab the big toes, we're going to apply tension, and we're going to come up into our lift and drop. This is going to be a nice little glute stretcher. And after that, you can go into a hamstring flosser. Most of us aren't here yet. You can always do these with the TRX. So I'm going down into that squat position, and I'm lifting and dropping. I'm coming up into a hamstring and back down.
I can go down if I do this. Like I can go like
Yes,
this. But
yes.
I can't do it if I.
Such a good.
That's why I'm here, is because I can't do it with my feet
Yep.
straight ahead.
Such a good point. I'm going to go over that in just a second. I love that.
So do we practice the first one? Can we practice it like this?
Yep.
Or should we try to
Great
do
question.
the wall and then do this so we build into...
So you are working your way to feet together, feet forward. But if you're not there yet, yes. And everyone's a little different too. The way that your hip bone, leg bone sits in your hip socket is different, especially females to males. You have a different Q angle, which creates a slightly different angle on where your knees can go. So again, as long as the knees are in line with the pinkies, your feet can go a little wider, your feet can go a little more narrow. But what I would do is for someone that can't get feet together, knees, toes forward, I would take a slightly wider stance. I would angle the toes slightly farther out. And now I can get into that deep squat position. Maybe that's just where my anatomy stays. And I can work the inner thighs. I can work the Achilles and the patellas and the knees. And then maybe one day I can start to try and see, how does that feel if I stay wide but I bring my toes in? Okay, yeah. Does it cause pain in my inside of my knees? No go. Which is maybe how my feet are set. Yeah, and that looks really good and really deep. If we then look at our low back, sometimes that low back rounds, right? Once you can get into that position where it's flat, that's when you know you've got it dialed in. So that low back rounding, what that is that's tight hamstrings and tight glutes from most likely sitting a lot. Those are tight. It's going to pull that low back into a rounded, it's called a butt wink position. And the way to get rid of that is going to be stretching hamstrings and glutes, working on ankle mobility, and even your thoracic upper back not being able to open up too. So it's all connected. Yeah. Hamstring flossers, we're down in our deep squat. Instead of just going up and down with our glutes, we're actually going into a full hamstring stretch position and then back down. And you have a nerve that goes all the way from your hip down to the bottom of your foot. Sciatic nerve is there. That helps to move through that area, be able to get a little movement there. So some people that do that exercise that have sciatica, it's been known to alleviate some pain there doing that. Yeah. I just lift my big toe up so I can grab onto it. If you can you can even do it with your inner arch, but you're right. Lifting your big toe is probably not the best thing because that does ruin the tripod. So good eye. From there, deep squat T-spine rotations. This one is the most advanced. It's pretty tough. With your feet close together, elbows on your inner thighs, you grab the opposite foot and you rotate open towards the ceiling without letting those legs collapse. And mine collapse in a little bit because I'm pretty tight in my T-spine. So this one's the ultimate where it puts everything together, ankles, hips, and your rotation of your spine. Yeah, so deep squat, elbows to the inner thighs, hand to the opposite ankle, rotate towards that. Bring your eyes up onto your fingertips. Super tough, super tough. Another way to do this would be to go into a tabletop position and just reach up to the sky, or into a child's pose position and go with the elbow to the ceiling. I'll do a whole clinic on T-spine rotation because that's just a different story. Okay, moving on. We're gonna go lizard hip openers and 90-90s are one of the best things that we can do to hit the hips. So lizard is a lunge position, and we're gonna go into hands down on the floor behind it. Your knee can be down on the ground. It can also be lifted up and back if you want a little bit more. From here, you're gonna take your hand on your front knee, and we wanna do kind of like the combat stretch. We wanna go forward, and we wanna wrap it around clockwise and counterclockwise. Keep your hips shifted forward, and then you can kind of lean back a little bit, and you're just trying to get all ranges of motion loosened up. You might hear some crackies, you might feel some poppies as long as there's no pain, and then see if you can kind of open that hip up out to the side for the opener. As you open that hip up to the side, if you want more, you can go ahead and lean over to the side and get your IT band and just feel around. What I want you guys to really focus on is, where do you feel tight? Where do you feel hindered? Where do you feel like you need a little more love than other places? That's where you stay. If you're like super loosey-goosey in an area, you're good. You don't need to be there. Move on. Nice. Does it mean if I just hang up on someone? You're like, you did that to me the other day. Hit the other leg too. And when you get really good, you'll start to put that foot into its locked in place, and you'll be able to move that ankle without letting that foot collapse or what's called supinate, which means open up. Lizard with rotation. We could do this while we're watching Netflix. We could do this right as we roll out of bed. If this doesn't work for you, you can always come into a lying position, and you can do the same thing with what's called like happy baby or whatever this is. I don't know. I need to work on my yoga. Sorry, Samara. Sorry, Claire. Cool. Lizard with rotation. Let's move on to the 90-90 activators. We do this one all the time, but I want to show you about the intent. So 90-90 position. The goal is to be able to sit in this position. Body stays upright without touching the floor. Very few people are here yet. I'm even leaning a little bit to the side. Your chest is square to the front of your knee. Your shoulders are parallel with the leg behind you. If you're not there yet, you can pull your feet a little closer to your body. And now I still have 90-degree angle here, and I can stay upright a little bit better. But once you're here, if you need this offhand like I do, go ahead and use it. You're gonna lean into this stretch, but stay active. You wanna stay high. You just wanna hinge from that hip and put the stretch on the hip. Once you're here, these muscles are in the most lengthened position that they can be. Now it's all about activating. Push your knee and your ankle hard into the floor. Push down for 5, 4, 3, 2. Now, lift up. 5, 4, 3, 2. Most people can't even move an inch, but if you lift up, you will fire up those inner thigh muscles that have never been asked to lift that leg in that position. Once you get some strength there, you will then have, this muscle here is one of the most neglected muscles in the body. And if we can start to get this weak link, a lot of our squat issues will decrease. So you can always put your hands down in front and out a little bit. One day you'd be able to do it with your hands off the ground. And then once you've done pushing down and lifting up, back ankle off the floor, right? Most people are not here yet. It's totally okay. And eventually you're going to be able to do it without moving your body. Switch sides. So 90-90, you put the hip on the deepest stretch. Once it's there, now you're going to tell your amplifier to tell your speakers to fire as hard as possible. You do that with the push down into the floor. What you put into this is what you get out of it. So you can make it as hard, as easy, as more intense as you want. There's very little, risk here. There's very little risk here. So you can go ahead and push. The lift is a little more risky, so being gentle, do whatever you need to do. And the back leg lift. All of these can be done watching Netflix at home, if that's what you do. I do. I don't watch Netflix. Jamie does, and we're slowly getting her. I told her that we couldn't have any furniture in the house. I lost that battle, but now she doesn't even use the furniture. Me and her just sit on the floor the whole time. Also, no, I won't even go into it. Never mind. Windshield wipers. So windshield wipers. The last one is for the low back and the hips. You're going to take your palms and place them into the ground, pushing into the floor to lock your shoulder blades down on the ground. We've done windshield wipers before, but what we're going to do is we're going to do it with our breath. And the breath is going to be the biggest portion here. So if you watch me, I'm going to inhale and fill my body full of air as I lower. From here, I'm going to keep my knees where they are. I can't go all the way to the ground yet, but if I exhale and counter twist, it releases and it gives me that extra 2 inches of range of motion. So go ahead and with me, knees at 90 degrees. Fill your lungs as you let the knees fall to the side. Inhale, hold it. And now as you exhale, release and take your knees and your shoulders away from each other. Inhale back to the center and to the other side. Keep filling your body with air. Hold it. And then release and take the knees and the hips away from each other. If you need your feet to be against your glutes for an option, you can. If you want a little more, take your feet further away from you. Your goal here is to fill the body with air, tense, and then just let it go. Exhale, release, and those limbs go away from each other. Any lower back issues or any pain, don't do this. It's just another way to create some more range of motion in the hips and the low back. When you hold your breath or your inhales are longer than your exhales, you go into that tensed protection phase, fight or flight. When your exhales are longer, when you let it go, you go into that rest, let go phase. All right, so that is the windshield wipers. Those are going to be your priming exercises for everything squats. I will send you videos on all of those. From there, let's go to the muscle activators. Are you guys good on time? I know this is a lot longer.
It's very good.
Okay, but I want to respect everyone's time. So if you guys do have to leave early, I won't take it personally. We're only going to go through the activators and the pre-trained priming video, and then we'll take a post video. Yeah. So muscle activators. Everybody find a little bit of wall space. A little bit of wall space. The brick is fine. If we want to, we can use some of this under the TV. A little bit of wall space. If you have wall space next to you, call someone over. We're going to take a wall sit. Yeah, awesome. This is the punishment back in our basketball days. So what we want to do is normal wall sits, your knees are at 90 degrees. We want to come just above that. So you should be able to hang out in your wall sit for a good 2 or 3 minutes if you had to. Your knees are not 90 degrees, they're a little higher. The reason we do this is because when you put your knee at that angle, we put the most stress on that patella tendon. Remember, stress doesn't have to be bad, it can be good. So what we're going to do here is just a slightly elevated wall sit. What we want to do is we want to drive and screw our heels into the floor, grip the ground with our feet, and start to try to see if we can push more poundage through our feet as we do this. It's all about intention. So we're pushing through the floor. Now, take your hands on the outside of your knees and push against your hands for 10. Go ahead and take as much pressure as you need. You're pushing on the outside of your knees. And as you push against those hands, you're firing up the outside of your hip muscles, your glute medius muscle. great for balance, great for stabilization. Now put your hands on the inner knees and do the same thing. Try to squeeze. It's called the good girl, the bad girl. That's what they call it at the gym. Press against those knees. Don't let the knees move. Just give them the resistance. And from here, we're going to go up onto our tippy toes and calf raise and hold. Good. You might feel a cramp in your calves. I am right now. Oh, okay. Come out of it real quick. So that is the 3-point wall sit. What we're doing is we are putting tension on the patella. We are activating our leg muscles by driving into the ground. Your brain is sending more motor neurons to those muscles because nothing is moving and you are pretending that you're trying to move something, right? The more you push against a movable object, the more motor neurons your brain is going to send you. So this is a great, great activator to do right before squats because eventually you're going to be squatting body weight, and that is a movable object. You're going to feel like you're flying through the squat after pushing through an immovable object. So you have the activators, outside, inside, calf raises. Do that maybe 2 rounds, 10 seconds each hold. You should be good to go. That's something you could do right before class. From there, we have the bottom half activators. Most of us are going to use a TRX for this one. So if you want to find a TRX or if you want to just do it body weight, we're going to go down into the bottom of your deep squat and we're going to come up halfway as slowly as possible, trying to squeeze and intensify as much as possible. And we will pulse bottom half, the slowest and most tense activation that you can feel. And what we're doing here is we got the checkpoints, we got the big toe, we got the pinky, we got the heel. And this is usually the weakest part of our squat. So what we're doing is we are asking those muscles to fire in that position. Yeah. Sweet. Knees don't collapse. Low back doesn't tuck. Shoulders stay back. Right now you are asking those bottom half, weaker portion of the leg muscles to do some work and start to activate. That's the bottom half activators. From there, we go into the hamstring iso bridge. We don't have to do this one. Let's do this one. Yeah. Everybody find a bench you can share with someone. Your heels are going to go on the bench. Let's go low. Your hamstrings, the back side of your legs. You have 3 huge muscles on the hamstrings, and these are huge helpers in lateral lunges, reverse lunges, and then also deeper squats. So a lot of times we'll do these hip bridges here. If you watch me, my toes are pointed, my ribs are arched, and I'm just kind of like digging into the bench as much as I can, lifting my hips. That is not what we're looking for here. What we want is we want to set ourselves up with our toes pointing directly up. They're going to try to flare out. I'm going to come over to you and I'm going to try to take them straight up. Once your toes are up, you want to pull as far as you can towards your nose. And then with the soft bend in your knees, not locked out, you're going to lift your hips off the ground and tuck your ribs down. And from here, you will feel the back of your legs fire. So go ahead, tuck your toes all the way up towards your shins slowly. If you can go more. Yes, don't let the toes roll out. Yes, so you got some hamstrings. So knees come apart without letting the toes come apart. Do you feel the difference? Oh yeah. So watch your knees. Your knees are going to try to cave in. You want to keep, yes, Corinne, nice, toes forward, knees out. Yep, and try not to let them touch. Knees, yes, drive those heels. We're going to come a little farther apart, Katie, with your feet. And now try to take your toes together, but not all the way. Right there. Now dig the heels into the ground. Do you feel hamstrings?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Check in. Bring those toes to your nose. Yes. Oh, now bring the toes inward. Right there. That is the hamstring that you're looking for. Knees. Nice. That's it. Good. Oh, yeah. We're going to take these, Carrie, and we're going to come that way. Yes. Feel any difference? No? Hamstrings? Nice. Yeah. That's it. Good, Stace. Can we take this toe toward your nose? Yeah. And now take your knees apart without letting your toes collapse. Yes. Do you feel that? Yeah. So you have a little bit of a difference in your left to right foot, and I do the same thing. One of them tries to go out because you have, so guys, you have 3 hamstring muscles, the outside, the inside, and the mid part. If one of those is weak, one of them is going to try to take over when you do this, and your toe is going to angle which way the stronger muscle is. So when your toe goes this way or your toe goes that way, you know I need to strengthen the other side. You can strengthen your inner thighs with lateral lunges, with, this is the worst one, Copenhagen planks, where you go here and you hold here. Real tough. So exercises that you like never would do, those are the exercises that strengthen the muscles that we never work. So I'll show you, I'll send some videos for that. Anybody else want me to watch their Toes? Weird. All right, nice. Here, and yeah, you got it. You're strong, very strong. Okay, so what do we got? We got hamstring iso bridge, alpha combat shift. We already showed you that one. It's a bag on your knee or a bag in between your legs, and you're adding resistance to your combat stretch. So those are the muscle activators. Squeeze, tensify, tell the muscle that you need all the muscle motor neurons. Pre-training phase, we do the 90-90 position to windshield wipers. You know, let's just do a couple of these and then do our post video, and then we'll see. I'll send you a whole video of the whole thing. Cool. So 90-90, let's go ahead and go into that position. And then if you need less, heels go in, lean into it and activate, drive, squeeze, lift your chest and bring your chest towards your ankle. Go here. Can anyone touch their forehead to their ankle? Okay, and now from here, give a little windshield wipe. Good job, Fede. We'll see you soon. Windshield wipe your knees back and forth. You can do this with your hands behind you. As you take your knees to one side, counter twist to the other side. Take your knees to the left, counter twist to the right. It should feel really good in your hips, maybe even your low back. And then flow to the side that you haven't done yet with the 90-90. Go forward, intensify, lift, go to your ankle whenever you want to, feel it out. What feels more tight than other places, that's where you want to spend your time. Everybody's body is different. Every side of your body is different. And what's crazy, every day is going to be something different. Stress, physical activities, the way you slept, all those things are going to factor into what your body feels like. Go ahead and windshield wiper your legs one more time, back and forth. Oh yeah. Let's move to the lizard hip openers real quick. Left leg forward, right leg back. Take that knee in circles and out to the side. We're going to do 1 more minute worth of work here, and then we're going to do our post video. We'll see you soon. You can switch legs when ready. And then once you feel even, find your feet. We're going to do one last thing that you want to do before you do heavy squats, or if you're trying to tell yourself to do the best squat. We're going to go super slow down, and we're going to power up. These are meant to be actually jump squats. If I was training a professional athlete or something, we would want to mobilize. We would want to intensify with our wall sit, and then we would want to send the signal for power. And those are the 3 phases of a warm-up to get ready for it. So everybody go checkpoints, short foot, slow down, knees can come forward, and come up with a little intensity by pushing the floor away from you. Yeah, slow down, and push with some power. And last one, slow down, and push with some power. Good. All right, find your cell phone, find your partner. Film your post video, 551. And we are done. Legs should be feeling good, especially those of you who took the stinking workout before this. You're amazing.
So what are we doing?
5 normal,
Same thing.
5 sumo, and 1 deep. You want me to get you, Sab?
Sure.
Let's do it.